So for these problems, the best thing to do is find a way to show your sample space, all the possible outcomes. So I'm going to use a tree diagram and a list to do that. So on my first flip, I'm going to start with the tree diagram. On my first flip, I could either get heads or tails. So two possible outcomes on the first flip. Now on the second flip, if I were to get heads on the first flip, I could either get heads on the second flip or tails on the second flip. And if I got tails on the first flip, I could get heads on the second flip or tails on the second flip. So this tree diagram shows all my possible outcomes. And I find these easier to read if I turn it into a list. So the first outcome shown in this tree diagram is heads on the first flip, heads on the second flip. The next outcome shown is heads on the first flip, tails on the second flip. The third outcome is tails on the first flip, heads on the second flip. And the fourth outcome, and the final outcome, is tails on the first flip, tails on the second flip. So you'll see there's four possible outcomes when I flip two coins. So the first question you were asked was the probability of getting heads on both flips. See right here, this is the only outcome that has me getting heads twice. So that's a 1 out of 4 chance. One of the four outcomes here is me getting heads twice. The next one, the probability of getting heads once and tails once. Well, you'll notice that can happen two ways. I could get heads the first time, tails the second time, or tails the first time and heads the second time. So that's a 2 out of 4 chance, or 1 out of 2. And finally, the probability of getting tails on both flips, that's only one of my four possible outcomes. So one thing to notice here, and here's how you can double check yourself. There's four possible outcomes, so that means the denominator for our probabilities will be 4, something out of 4. That means the numerators, when I've done all of them, should add up to 4. Because when I flip a coin twice, I can either get heads both times, heads once and tails once, or tails twice. You'll notice if I add these numerators together, 1 plus 2 plus 1, I get 4. So that accounted for all four possible outcomes.